Welcome back, sports fans. In this segment, I stated I was going to be talking about the NHL season. However, I've decided to move that to the last segment of the show. I got ahead of myself a little bit. However, I intended on focusing on the boys of summer in this segment. So my apologies to all you summer hockey fans out there, and otherwise all you hockey fans out there as well. I will get to that in the last segment of this show. However, for right now, I want to talk about the Detroit Tigers very briefly. Now, I did say I was not following the Tigers because I felt like that this Major League Baseball season ought to be canceled, and I still feel that way. I'm very surprised by what I've seen to a certain extent, and I'm very surprised that given the gross lack of continuity that there has been, if you can call it one, a season, so to speak. I mean, obviously, this is all revenue generated. It have to be for the kind of product that's been out there to be displayed outside of, let's say Mike Trout and a few other players, to be sure. With that having been said, one thing that was noteworthy a few weeks ago that I really wanted to come on and state, and I do think it's important regardless of what I feel about this season, is the fact that Tyler Alexander struck out 8 consecutive Reds in a game. I mean, that's a very impressive feat. And I've only ever heard of one player doing that other than him, and that would be Jim Deshaies in 1986 when he struck out the first 8 Dodgers to start that game. It does show that Tyler Alexander, to me, ought to be starting, and why he's not is still very much a mystery to me. I think after Ron Gardenhire is gone from the Tigers, I think you're going to see that. And I think sooner rather than later, actually. With that having been said, it's just kind of interesting to me, what's been going on with the Tigers, and especially with Michael Fulmer, and that's the other thing I wanted to focus on. He pitched last night. He didn't pitch very well. He hasn't pitched very much or very well since he's come back, even though he's missed the last year and a half. In my mind, even though I haven't seen him pitch so far, it just looks like to me, looking at the numbers, like he's done. And if he is done, that to me is a big problem for the Tigers' future, because it will set their rebuilding back, I would say, at least 5 years. Hopefully no more than that, but it could be even longer, because I saw him as being somewhat of the bridge person between what you've seen the last few years and certainly what the Tigers will eventually be. The other thing that's noteworthy, that's kind of startling, is the fact that Matt Boyd has not only not won a game this year, but he's not pitching very well. And I don't know what's going on with that. I have not a clue, but it's certainly disturbing. And not just him, but Joe Jimenez as well. I'm very shocked by all this. I think considering all of this, based on what I've read, the Tigers are fortunate to have the record that they do. One thing I will take note of that has improved, though, is their power. They've hit 31 home runs, I believe it is, so far this season. And last year they only hit 143 in 162 games. So while they were last by a good margin in the major leagues last year in home runs, they're at least averaging more than a home run a game so far this year. So that's at least one positive to take away from all this. And I would say the other one would be Casey Mize pitching the other day against the White Sox. It wasn't, to me, as spectacular an effort as you'd like to see, but I like the fact that he struck out 7 White Sox without walking anybody. It would have been good if he pitched a little bit more, but I understand the conservatism, especially given things right now, because that seems to be the overall trend in this pandemic season. In the next segment, I'm going to be discussing the Big Ten, the cancellation of the Big Ten season for college football, as well as a little bit of an overview of college football as I know it as of right now. Stay tuned on Ed's Sports Channel.